Chapter 5464. It's ready to cool. It's best if you can eat it right away. No need to wait. He's been very busy lately and doesn't have much time for breakfast. Lu Shuang seemed to understand something. She smiled and turned to leave. Wait, tell them to prepare some supper and keep it warm in the pot. He's been coming home late lately. Okay, second young mistress. Lu Shuang ran out quickly. Tangwa tapped her fingers on the table lightly. Suddenly, a thought flashed through her mind. She called out to Lu Wu, who was beside her, "Go find a ruler." Lu Wu didn't quite understand, but she quickly went to find one. Because they usually had to make clothes, a ruler was a common tool. She quickly brought it over. She was very curious. The second young mistress usually didn't make these things, even though she had learned at the family tang a long time ago. But after they got married, she never saw the second young mistress touch it. To tell the truth, ever since she married into the Cheng family, she realized that the second young mistress did nothing but eat, drink, play, and sleep. Tangwa held the ruler and didn't do anything else. Cheng Zixiao only hurried back when the sky was dark. Lu Shuang saw him and quickly ran after him. "Second young master, have you eaten?" "I haven't had the time." Cheng Zixiao didn't understand why Lu Shuang suddenly asked. Recently, he was indeed a little busy. Usually, he could eat one meal a day. The rest of the time, he just ate some snacks. In just a few days, he had lost a lot of weight. Second young mistress knows that you've been busy recently, so she specifically asked the kitchen to keep supper for you. It's still warm in the pot. Wash it first and I'll bring it over. Cheng Zixiao's hand froze as he took off his jacket. She prepared supper for him? Second young mistress must have noticed that you've lost a lot of weight recently and thought that you haven't been eating well. That's why she thought of this. Lu Shuang finished speaking and quickly ran to the kitchen. When Lu Shuang came back with the food, Cheng Zixiao was already sitting at the round table. He watched as she brought out the dishes and porridge. Sure enough, it was steaming hot. He ate a mouthful of porridge. The temperature was just right. He didn't have to wait. He didn't feel it before, but now that he had a mouthful of porridge, he felt hungry. Where's second young mistress? Cheng Zixiao looked inside, but he could not see the situation in the room. Nor did he have any intention of getting up to take a look. She was usually able to sleep, so she was probably already asleep by now. Second young mistress has already gone to bed, Lu Shuang said. He just wanted me to tell you that you must eat well. Your body is your own. If something were to happen one day, then you would lose more than you gain. If you don't have a good body, you can't do anything. Cheng Zixiao ate the side dishes and listened to these words. He only felt that these words touched his heart. To be honest, ever since he was young, he had never experienced being cared for so much. Someone had actually noticed that he had lost weight and that he was not eating properly. They had even prepared supper for him. He felt that his eyes were a little warm, but he didn't know why. He had never experienced such a feeling before, so he couldn't describe it. In short, he was looking forward to time stopping at this moment. That night, Cheng Zixiao had the most comfortable sleep in the past few days. Perhaps it was because he was full, but his stomach didn't feel uncomfortable. It was probably that very warm bowl of porridge that warmed his stomach. In the morning, Cheng Zixiao woke up early as usual. When he was about to go out, he realized that breakfast was already laid out on the round table outside. Lu Shuang looked at him and said, "Second young mistress asked someone to prepare it. Second young mistress, eat before you leave. The temperature is just right, so it won't take long. If you don't eat, I'm afraid I won't be able to explain myself." Chapter 5465. Cheng Zifeng sat down and ate the porridge in his bowl. His heart was filled with strange feelings. "There are some snacks here. You can take them with you when you're hungry." Lu Shuang put a small food box on the table. This time, Cheng Zixiao didn't ask if it was Tangwa's order. Other than her, no one else in the Cheng family would be so considerate. It was a wonderful feeling. One day, he could actually receive such treatment. After breakfast, Tangwa woke up and saw Cheng Zixiao. Cheng Zixiao raised his head and looked at her. "Thank you. I just don't want to be known as a widow at such a young age." Cheng Zixiao didn't think it was unpleasant. Instead, he laughed. "Let Lu Shuang bring you food? I'll eat later." "Okay." Cheng Zixiao stood up and was about to leave. "Then I'll leave first." I still have a lot of things to do. I can't delay. Wait. Tangwa turned around. This time, Cheng Zixiao didn't leave immediately. When she came out, she held a ruler in her hand. It's time to get winter clothes. I'll take your measurements. I'm going to Yun's tailor shop later. I can't be the only one. Cheng Zixiao thought it was a little troublesome. They should have my measurements. You seem to have lost a lot of weight. You can't fit your previous size. This time, Cheng Zixiao didn't refuse and let Tangwa take his measurements. He watched as she wrote down the measurements and said again, "Then I'll leave. You can go." Tangwa looked at the measurements on the paper and didn't raise her head. She could feel that Cheng Zixiao's mentality had completely changed after just 2 meals and measurements. Hearing Cheng Zixiao's footsteps leave, Tangwa looked up. This time, Cheng Zixiao didn't leave in a hurry. Instead, he walked slowly and didn't seem to be in a hurry. "Do you have anything you want? I'll bring it back tonight." Cheng Zixiao suddenly turned around and saw Tangwa looking at him. It was too far away. He couldn't see the emotions in her eyes. He could only feel that she was looking at him. He didn't know why, but his heart was beating very fast. "We have everything at home. We don't need it for now." Cheng Zixiao was not satisfied with this answer. "Then I'll buy it." "What should I buy?" His footsteps became smarter this time, but his mind was thinking about what to buy. Indeed, she had everything. She had to buy something new that she didn't have. In that instant, he forgot to buy one for Xiao Xueshi. Tangwa went to Yun's tailor shop and dragged Xiao Xueshi along. "Actually, I haven't had the time to wear them yet. There's no need to make so many." Xiao Xueshi refused. "The other day, I heard from Yun Xiaolian that there are new patterns and designs. The ones she bought last year are also old. Even if she doesn't wear them, they are still old. I see that you're not in a good mood recently. Why don't you make some clothes to cheer yourself up?" Xiao Xueshi couldn't argue with Tangwa, so she could only follow along. Actually, she was a little repulsed by the Yun's tailor shop. After all, she had suffered a loss here last time. As a result, she was very careful in this regard. Now, all the tailors in Yu City knew that the eldest young mistress of the Cheng family had high standards and couldn't be sloppy. When Tangwa saw Yun Xiaolian, she took out a piece of paper and handed it to her. Yun Xiaolian saw the size on it and raised her eyebrows slightly. In the end, she laughed strangely. "This size, it's a man's, right? Second young masters?" "Yes, according to this size, make a few winter clothes. The new designs have all been made." Xiao Xueshi also laughed. It seemed that Xiao Guo was slowly accepting Cheng Zixiao. Not long after, Tangwa and Xiao Xueshi passed by the cinema in a rickshaw. From afar, she saw Yin Qing leaning against the wall, looking bored and looking around. "You go back first. I have something to do." Xiao Xueshi did not ask any more questions and only agreed. Tangwa had accompanied her for most of the day. After watching Xiao Xueshi leave, Tangwa got off the rickshaw and walked towards the cinema. At this time, Yin Qing's voice sounded in her ear. "Thank you for the gift last time." Not long after Tangwa went in, he went in and sat down beside her. "It's a big favor. I know that I can't repay it even if I say thank you." Chapter 5467. When I get my revenge, my life is yours. Whatever you want to do, I'll do it for you. Tangwa stared at the screen and did not answer. Yin Qing scratched his head, wondering if he was too direct, and she was a little anxious because she did not respond. He wanted to say something, but he realized that Tangwa was watching the movie, so he had to shut up. When the movie ended, Tangwa's voice reached his ears. "Remember what you said?" Yin Qing felt that he had come back to life. He quickly replied, "I, Yin Qing, am a man of my word. Don't interfere with Cheng Zixiao's actions." Tangwa came here because the system told her that Yin Qing had asked his men to keep an eye on Cheng Zixiao. She was afraid that Yin Qing would do something to stop Cheng Zixiao's plan. Then, she would not get the result she wanted. Yin Qing looked at Tangwa's back in confusion and felt very uncomfortable. The first thing she told him was not to interfere with Cheng Zixiao's actions? Did that guy sleep on the floor become an official? The moment Yin Qing stepped out of the cinema, he was surrounded by a few of his lackeys. These ignorant fellows even looked at him with a smile, as if they were saying that their boss loved to watch movies so much and that they should stay far away from him. Boss, you don't look so good. Is the ending of the movie bad? Did I make you upset? Go away. I told you to keep an eye on Cheng Zixiao. Did you do it? Yes, I have arranged for someone to do it. He has been a little busy recently. It seems that he wants the power of the Cheng family. Yan Qing's face turned serious. Really? It's true. We already have people keeping an eye on Cheng Zixiao. Boss, have you forgotten? Yan Qing. That seemed to be the case. So Cheng Zixiao wants to seize power? Yan Qing touched his chin. It's so sudden. Is it because of Cheng Zifeng? Cheng Zifeng has fallen in love with Big Yin recently. One of his men leaned close to Yan Qing and whispered, I just found out about it. I don't know how he got infected, but my intuition tells me that it has something to do with Cheng Zixiao. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made such a big move. Yan Qing. That's interesting. By the way, try to find out if Cheng Zixiao is still sleeping on the floor. The lackeys were confused. Did Cheng Zixiao sleeping on the floor have anything to do with them? Why was boss's focus always so strange? Don't just stand there. Hurry up and investigate. The lackeys had bitter looks on their faces. This was someone else's house. How could they investigate? If they could find out, wouldn't everyone in the Cheng family be able to enter? Boss, this is very difficult. You can't just enter the Cheng family's house. There are many private places in their house. It is said that only Cheng Zifeng, the second young mistress of the Cheng family, and the second young mistress's 2 maidservants can enter the house. Forget it. You don't have to care about this. That night, Yan Qing carried a rope with a hook and climbed onto the Cheng family's roof. He crouched down and gently uncovered the tiles. The moment the tiles were removed, he looked inside and saw Cheng Zixiao sleeping on the small bed. Just as he was about to heave a sigh of relief, he felt a gaze on him. He subconsciously looked over and almost lost his consciousness. If it weren't for his strong willpower, he would have rolled down. Tanghua had already noticed someone on the roof. When she heard the system say that it was Yan Qing, she didn't say anything and just watched as the tiles were removed. Yan Qing looked at Tang was sitting on the stool with a coat draped over her shoulders. He didn't know what expression to show. Most importantly, he was confident in his skills and didn't cover his face. Tanghua held a cup of water and drank it while looking at Yan Qing. Yan Qing couldn't take it anymore. He gave her an apologetic look and quickly put the tiles back. Then, he quickly ran away. After running out of the Cheng family, his heart almost jumped out of his chest. It was too terrible. You don't have to worry about anything else. No matter what, Big Brother is still the young master of the Cheng family. There are many things that require his return. The butler said, Don't worry, second young master. I will definitely bring eldest young master back. In fact, in the butler's heart, Cheng Zifeng was almost useless. First, he had a mistress. Now, he was infatuated with cigarettes. He hadn't returned home for so long and didn't care about anything in the Cheng family. Could such a person really bear the burden of the Cheng family? It would be better to let second young master manage the Cheng family. Unfortunately, the old master was too obsessed with the son of the first wife and didn't care about the second young master's status. In fact, he felt that second young master was more suitable than eldest young master. If the Cheng family wasn't handed over to second young master in the future and fell into eldest young master's hands, it wouldn't last for more than a generation. Mobile version website. Chapter 5469. Have you found eldest young master? Not yet, eldest young mistress. Xiao Shueshi didn't feel much about it now. She didn't even want to come back to see her father when he was seriously ill. She didn't want to miss him. I heard that you'll get addicted to smoking? Yes, eldest young mistress. You can't touch it. Not only will you get addicted, but it will also harm your body. That's why Master was so angry and wanted to find eldest young master and force him to quit smoking. Xiao Shueshi frowned. He's hiding from us now. How can we find him? Fortunately, second young master is still in charge of the Qing family. Otherwise, it would be even worse now that master is ill and no one is in charge of the Qing family. Xiao Shueshi agreed. Wasn't that right? Who would have thought that the high-spirited and wise man would be like this? She really didn't expect it. Eldest young mistress, don't worry. The housekeeper has already sent people to look for him. They'll probably find him soon and bring him back. Xiao Shueshi didn't reply. She suddenly realized that she didn't want Cheng Zifeng to be found. Since he liked to be outside, then he should stay outside forever and never come back. If he was kidnapped and forced to do something unhappy, he would probably say that they were just a bunch of ordinary people. Even if they imprisoned his body, they couldn't trap his heart and thoughts. The outside world was so beautiful. Wouldn't it be great if Cheng Zifeng stayed outside forever? If he came back, the Cheng family would be in chaos because of him and wouldn't have a peaceful life. Xiao Shueshi was shocked. Why did she have such thoughts? When did she start to not worry about Cheng Zifeng's safety? She even hoped that the current situation would remain and that he would never come back. She could be the eldest young mistress and he, Cheng Zifeng, could be his prodigal son. Why not? Xiaogua said it well. If she was unhappy, she could go to the tailor shop and have some nice clothes made. It would definitely make her feel better. The maid saw that Xiao Shueshi was deep in thought and thought that she was worried about Cheng Zifeng's safety. She didn't say anything and just silently accompanied her while cursing Cheng Zifeng in her heart. Old Master Cheng's illness didn't get better for 10 days to half a month. Cheng Zixiao, on the other hand, was getting busier and busier. Every time, he hurriedly stuffed 2 snacks into his mouth and went out. Perhaps the best thing he ate was the midnight snack that Tanghua asked someone to prepare for him. By the time Old Master Cheng recovered, it was already 1.5 months later. When he was about to go to the trading company, he was stopped by Cheng Zixiao. Father, you don't have to go to the trading company. If there's anything you're worried about, I can tell you. Second brother, what are you talking about? Father, you've been sick for too long, and the doctor said that you're too old to worry about anything. Now that big brother hasn't returned, I took the initiative to take over everything so that you don't have to worry. Now, you and mother can retire at home in peace. If you have nothing to do, you can drink tea and walk around. This time, Old Master Cheng understood. Second brother, you're a bastard too? Do you still think of me as your father? Of course you're my father. If you hadn't trained me since I was young and let me be at the front of everything, then big brother wouldn't have picked all the fruits. I wouldn't have had so many opportunities, and big brother wouldn't have been raised by you to be a good-for-nothing. Now, he only knows how to have romantic nights and smoke. Father, this is all because of you. Fortunately, you did this. Otherwise, both of your sons would have been crippled. In such a big Qing family, I'm afraid that no one will care about them. Chapter 5470. Old Master Cheng fell ill from anger again. This time, the doctor specified that he should rest in bed for half a month and not get angry again. In front of others, Cheng Zixiao was a filial son. He was always thinking of Old Master Cheng and worried about his illness. No one could find fault with him. Old Master Cheng looked at how well Cheng Zixiao was taking care of everything. Even the butler admired Cheng Zixiao. His eyes finally dimmed. He wanted to tell Madame Cheng about Cheng Zixiao's words, but he didn't expect that Madame Cheng didn't have any objections to Cheng Zixiao's butler. This surprised him. What made him even more surprised was that Madame Cheng said, "Old Master's health hasn't been very good recently. I think we should move into the small temple to pray for blessings for a year." Old Master Cheng frowned. He felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't figure it out. Zifeng has been spoiled by us. Fortunately, we have Zixiao in the family. As long as Zixiao is here, the Cheng family won't fall. Old Master, let Zixiao manage the Cheng family. Old Master Cheng still didn't understand. Even if his wife treated Zixiao well, it wasn't to this extent. She didn't want her biological son to inherit the family business. Could it be that the matter of Zifeng being addicted to cigarettes had made his wife despair? For the time being, he could only think of this. However, he didn't notice that when Madame Cheng mentioned Cheng Zixiao, her hands were trembling. Her fingers kept pinching the prayer beads, as if a secret had been discovered. Madame Cheng left the room and happened to meet Madame Cheng at the door. She was shocked to see Cheng Zixiao's smiling face. Cheng Zixiao said gently, "Mother, I've already arranged for someone to clean the small temple. If you want to pray for Father as a son, I can't stop you. Don't worry, I'll take good care of the Cheng family. When Big Brother comes back, I'll definitely urge him to quit those bad things." Madam Chung nodded shakily. Then I'll leave this family to you. I'll leave Zifeng's matter to you. Mother, don't worry. Chung Zixiao, will definitely do what I promise. A smile hung on Chung Zixiao's lips as he watched Madam Chung leave. He turned and walked into the small courtyard. In fact, he really didn't do anything. He just used a guess to scare Madam Chung. He didn't expect Madam Chung to be fooled by a guess about her death in labor. It seemed that his mother's difficult labor had something to do with her. After knowing that he was in control of the Chung family, she came to beg him, hoping that he would not resent Chung Zifeng. He didn't resent Chung Zifeng in the first place. Chung Zifeng was only digging his own grave for not treating the woman he loved well. As for Madam Chung, he didn't want to kill her now. After all, if things went wrong, not only would his reputation be ruined, but he would also be caught red-handed. He wouldn't be able to survive in Fish City and protect Xue Shi. Therefore, he made a deal with Madam Chung. She would always go to the small Buddha hall to recite scriptures for his mother and apologize. However, he had promised to bring Chung Zifeng back and kick his habit of smoking. Did Madam Chung think that Chung Zifeng would be able to return to the past just because he gave up that thing? That was impossible. Chung Zifeng would hate this place even more and wouldn't want to come back. Chung Zifeng was a person who had fallen to his bones. It was impossible for Madam Chung to turn things around in this lifetime. In the short span of 2 months, the power of the Chung family had fallen into Cheng Zixiao's hands. This was considered big news in Fish City. Chapter 5471. However, Chung Zixiao was used to doing these things, so it didn't affect him much. It was just that in the Chung family, the servants' attitude towards him was very different. First of all, the food and clothing in his courtyard had greatly improved. Now, the servants respected Tanghua even more. Sister-in-law, although father and mother left the Chung family to me to manage, don't worry. No matter what happens to Big Brother, this will always be your home. Xiao Xueshi didn't feel much about this. As long as she was given a room and some food, she would be fine without so many troubles. Then I'll have to leave the matter of the butler to Xiao Guo. Cheng Zixiao was stunned. That was true. Now that his status was different, the housekeeper's wife had to be his wife. Xiao Guo is not used to doing this. Sister-in-law, you should do it. Xiao Xueshi quickly shook her head. This is against the rules. I'll give all the keys and account books to Xiao Guo in a while. Chung Zixiao saw that he couldn't refuse and could only agree. Now that the Chung family was his, he could make all the decisions. When would Xueshi be happy? Sister-in-law, the butler has news about Big Brother. They might bring him back soon. Really? Xiao Xueshi was surprised. When? Chung Zixiao looked at her nervous expression and felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. Very soon. He just didn't know if she would still be so happy when Chung Zifeng came back. The Chung Zifeng now was not the Chung Zifeng of the past. After saying goodbye to Xiao Xueshi, Chung Zixiao was full of regret. If he hadn't controlled his selfishness on the day of the wedding, would he have missed out on so many things? What should he do next? No matter what, he had to bring Xueshi to his side and watch over her every day. This way, he could protect her and prevent her from being bullied. What should he do? First, he had to let Xueshi and Big Brother divorce. Secondly, he had to end his relationship with Tanghua. It was actually very simple to let Xueshi and Big Brother divorce. Tanghua was the daughter of the family Tang. If there was no reason to divorce, the family Tang would definitely cause trouble. For the past few days, Chung Zixiao had been thinking about this problem every night. In the end, he was certain that he and Tanghua could not continue like this. They had to end it. Furthermore, he had already thought of a solution. This was the only way to get the best of both worlds. Although this method was not good for her, he had thought of a way out for her. After the matter was over, he would arrange for people to send her far away. The amount of money he gave her was enough to guarantee her happiness for the rest of her life. In any case, if that family Tang really cared about her, they wouldn't have agreed not to pursue the matter after giving the wrong bridal chamber to the Chung family. After all, there were no feelings between them. It was right for them to break up. Chapter 5472. Cheng Zifeng was forced to stay in the house. As his wife, Xiao Xueshi would keep an eye on him every day. Ever since Cheng Zifeng came back, he made a fuss every day, and Xiao Shueshi did not have a good rest. She felt that she was right. Cheng Zifeng might as well not come back. When others saw her haggard appearance, they would think that she was worried about Cheng Zifeng. In fact, no one knew that in her heart, she actually began to despise, loathe, and even somewhat hate Cheng Zifeng. It would be better if he did not come back. If he did not come back, she would be safe. She was no longer the Xiao Shueshi of the past. She had learned to make plans for herself. Cheng Zixiao watched from the side and felt a little annoyed. It seemed that he had to start his plan earlier. Only in this way could Xiao Shueshi get rid of Cheng Zifeng, and he could end this relationship with Tanghua. However, before that, he had to make Cheng Zifeng quit smoking. Otherwise, the skinny Cheng Zifeng would not be able to catch Tanghua's eye. After that, Cheng Zifeng suffered a lot. It took about 3 months for him to finally quit smoking. His body slowly recovered and his face became more rosy. At this time, Cheng Zifeng was much more clear-headed. However, he hated everything about the Cheng family, including Xiao Shueshi. He hated these people who restricted his freedom. As long as he was given a chance, he would definitely get out. "Master, how are you?" Just as Cheng Zifeng was thinking about how to leave the Cheng family, a little maid suddenly appeared and stunned him. "Who are you?" "Master, I'm second young mistress's maid." Cheng Zifeng was confused. "What are you doing here? Are you here to watch a joke?" "No, second young mistress is a little worried about you. She asked me to come and see you. Also, I brought you some food. I don't know if you like it. Second young mistress knows that you are suffering and being restrained here. In fact, she wants to help you, but second young mistress can't help you." The little maid sighed. She was Cheng Zixiao's maid and was specially arranged to confuse Cheng Zifeng. When the matter was exposed in the future, Cheng Zifeng would not deny that Tanghua had feelings for him. "So that's how it is. Seems like she's a good person after all. At least she understands me." Cheng Zixiao gritted his teeth. "It's all my fault. If I hadn't done that, there wouldn't be so much trouble. If I meet your second young mistress Hua, maybe we'll get along. Even if we don't get along, with her knowledge and wisdom, she'll let me and Yuan be together. Unlike Shueshi, who always wants to tie me down." The young maidservant despised her in her heart, but nodded repeatedly on the surface. "Yes, second young mistress is too unlucky. She should have been with eldest young master, but after what second young master did, she will regret it for the rest of her life." Cheng Zifeng seemed to have heard someone talking and also accepted the little maid's food. In the following half a month, the maid came every day to bring him food and messages. Cheng Zifeng regarded Tanghua as his confidant. He regretted it more and more. Why did he have to exchange brides in the first place? If it was Tanghua, he might be doing very well. However, she didn't know that the maid's words were all made up by Cheng Zixiao. He knew Cheng Zifeng too well. "Is there anything you want to do? Or, do you want something very much? It can also be a wish that you want to fulfill since you were young." The above 3 questions were asked by Cheng Zixiao. Tanghua said, "I've been too busy recently. I'll take some time to go out with you in the next few days and see if there's anything you want." Chapter 5473. Aren't you busy now? "I'm not busy anymore. The busy days have passed. At present, everything has been properly allocated. I won't be as busy as before." Cheng Zixiao thought Tanghua was just asking casually, so he explained casually. There was one thing he didn't say. Now that the entire Cheng family was in his hands, it was up to him whether he was busy or not. It was impossible for the Cheng couple to stop him. Ever since Cheng Zifeng quit that thing, Madame Cheng had arranged for someone to check on him after she found out. When she heard the maid say that Cheng Zifeng didn't appreciate it at all and scolded her every day, she couldn't do anything about it. Now, she just hoped that Cheng Zifeng would be fine and not be tainted by bad things. Even if he couldn't inherit the Cheng family, she hoped that Cheng Zixiao would let Cheng Zifeng live well for her current situation. "I heard that you like to go to the cinema. After today, let's go watch a movie." Tanghua didn't object. "Okay. The clothes made by Yun's tailor shop are really good. Let's go and have a look later?" "That's good too. The season is about to change, so it's time to prepare for the new season." Tanghua continued, "This time, you can go get your measurements." It seems that there are some changes. When Tangwa mentioned this, Cheng Zixiao remembered that a few months ago, Tangwa had helped him save supper, take his measurements, and order winter clothes. For a moment, he didn't know how to say it. He had a very special feeling in his heart that she wasn't wrong. It was a pity that their relationship couldn't be maintained, and their separation wasn't a simple matter. If they broke up like this, not only would the Tang family make trouble for him, but it would also be impossible for him and Xueshi to be together in the future. The only way was that she was the one at fault. The other one at fault was Cheng Zifeng. Then, when he and Xueshi were together in the future, no one would talk about Xueshi. When others talked about them, they would only think that they were people who had fallen from grace. Speaking of which, they were supposed to be husband and wife, but it was a freak combination of factors that led to the wrong bridal chamber. As for the matter of him admitting that he made a mistake in the bridal chamber, not many people knew about it. To outsiders, everyone thought that it was the servants who mixed it up. This was actually easy to handle. As long as he wanted, such public opinion could only be controlled by him. If Tangwa had been a little worse, he would not have been so conflicted and worried about everything. It was only because there was nothing wrong with her that he was so hesitant. But for Xueshi, he had no choice but to do so. The money he gave Tangwa was enough for her to live on for the rest of her life. It wouldn't be too bad. Chapter 5474. When the two of them went in, he stared at their backs, especially Cheng Zixiao. Boss, those people are right. Second young Master Cheng and second young Mistress Cheng have a good relationship. He's just a floor sleeper. Just listen to what they say. How could he not know if Cheng Zixiao had become an official or not? Fine, it wasn't sleeping on the floor, but what about sleeping in a crib? Love my ass. Speaking of which, the Cheng family had been quiet recently. He heard that Cheng Zifeng had quit smoking. He hadn't been released yet, probably because the Cheng couple was worried. He still missed something. This Cheng Zixiao was actually willing to help Cheng Zifeng quit that thing. Could it be that he still cared about their brotherly relationship? Why didn't he believe it? Boss, aren't you going in to watch? Today's movie attracted second young Master Cheng and second young Mistress Cheng. It must be exciting. No, what's there to watch? He hadn't watched a complete movie before. Every time, he was doing something else. If the floor sleeper was there, why would he go in? These two were interesting. They weren't a real couple, but there were rumors about how loving they were. Why? Speaking of which, he was really curious. Did Cheng Zixiao know that Tangwa had a deadly person in her hands? Just based on this, he was sure that Tangwa had no feelings for Cheng Zixiao. Also, she warned him not to interfere with Cheng Zixiao's secret affairs. Actually, she didn't care about Cheng Zixiao. She probably wanted to do something, right? Actually, he only understood this after secretly watching last time. Speaking of which, she didn't expose him when he was caught. She didn't have any intention of warning him. She was really interesting. The movie finished playing in Yinqing's imagination. After it finished, he hid in a corner and stared at the people walking outside. After seeing Tangwa and Cheng Zixiao, he turned his face elsewhere, until the two of them got into a rickshaw and left and disappeared from his sight. Today's movie was a little touching. Did it touch you? Tangwa asked. She didn't know if the movie was touching or not, but she didn't like the plot. A little. It's not easy for two people who like each other to be together. There's too much pressure. Cheng Zixiao said. Today's movie really made him feel very immersed. Tangwa smiled faintly. I don't quite understand. She couldn't understand why he would start by hurting everyone even though he knew it was a mistake. She knew that movies from this period should not be viewed in such a light. There were metaphors in this movie. It was using the feelings of the two main characters to express their resistance to their fate. This was a metaphor for the awakening of one's thoughts. It was just that the choice of material was a little off, and it was easy to cause misunderstandings. Moreover, the person who made the movie probably didn't expect that there were people who only saw the surface and didn't really understand his deeper meaning. Perhaps some people understood this, but they would use this to cover up their unethical selfishness and promote the idea of abandoning their old loves, abandoning their legal wives, and abandoning all marriages arranged by their parents. In fact, Many people couldn't wait to start a new and advanced love even before ending their marriage. What do you not understand? Tangwa did not expect Chung Zixiao to ask, so she said, I think there's something wrong with the choice of this movie. People will misinterpret the meaning of it. Chapter 5475. Tell me about it. Chung Zixiao's interest was piqued. He didn't see any mistakes in the movie. Do you think there's a problem with Cui Yun or with Zhang Yi? There's a problem with both. Chung Zixiao. What's the problem? They were originally a loving couple. They were also engaged in the beginning. If there's a problem, it should be that Cui Yun made the wrong choice to marry into the Li family. If she didn't choose the Li family, her father wouldn't have the money to look after his leg, and no one would do the work. She still has 2 younger brothers and a younger sister, and no mother. She won't be able to eat next year. Tangwa's words made Chung Zixiao stunned. Yes, if Cui Yun didn't choose to marry into the Li family, their family would starve to death next year. Zhang Yi can't do anything. He's just a farmer, a young man who does rough work. Chung Zixiao said. After he finished speaking, he frowned. But this wasn't an excuse. The movie only seemed to express that Zhang Yi was sad about Cui Yun marrying into the Li family, but it didn't express what Zhang Yi did for her. He was already an adult man, and his strength was comparable to Cui Yun's father. They were engaged, so it was understandable for Zhang Yi to do work to help their family. The only difficult thing was probably Cui Yun's father's leg injury, which required money. Zhang Yi's family had a cow. If he was Zhang Yi and she was Cui Yun, he would definitely sell the cow without hesitation. When needed, he would help people work and rent cows. He wouldn't just watch the person he liked marry into the Li family. Zhang Yi is incompetent. This time, Chung Zixiao gave a different evaluation. This person isn't worthy of Cui Yun. He couldn't do anything, but he caused Cui Yun a lot of trouble. He couldn't bear to part with Cui Yun, but he wasn't willing to make any sacrifices. Later on, Cui Yun took her stupid husband out, and he couldn't control himself. Since then, he and Cui Yun had other relationships. Do you think this is appropriate? Speaking of this, is the Li family really an evil family? It was Cui Yun's family that needed money, so they paid for her to marry into the Li family. From her point of view, she felt that she was at a disadvantage and was unwilling to accept it. Therefore, I feel that the theme of this movie is wrong. It is not suitable to use it to express the spirit of resistance and the progress of new ideas. Chung Zixiao was stunned. Only now did he understand what Tangwa meant. He only saw how difficult the relationship between the male and female protagonists was, but she saw a deeper side. That's right. How could a movie at this time be an ordinary movie that only talked about the relationship between a man and a woman? That's probably because the person who made the movie didn't have a perfect idea and didn't think it through. Chung Zixiao said. He was no longer bothered by the movie. I don't think many people will like such a lousy movie. Tangwa shook her head again. There should be a lot of people who like it. Putting everything else aside, the identities and experiences of the 2 main characters can easily be substituted into the story. Believe it or not, Fish City will soon have a different concept of marriage. Tangwa lowered her head. It will be more serious than before. Perhaps, there will be fewer people who laugh at Big Brother and Xieyuan. As long as their relationship remains the same, there will be plenty of supporters. Father and mother won't allow Big Brother to go out. He won't be able to see Xieyuan, Chung Zixiao said. This time, Tangwa didn't reply. Do you want to go anywhere else? A few days later, Chung Zixiao asked Tangwa. Chapter 5476. Tangwa shook her head. I've been out for the past few days. I'm tired. Let's rest at home. Is there anything you want? Tangwa shook her head again. Chung Zixiao didn't ask any more questions. He felt a little uncomfortable, but he didn't know why. However, his subordinates told him that everything had been arranged and they were just waiting for him. He knew that he couldn't delay any longer. 3 days later, he put some medicine in Tangwa's tea. Tangwa naturally drank it. On the other side, Chung Zifeng also ate the food with something in it. Next, he used greater teleportation and teleported Tangwa to Ching Zifeng's courtyard. For this day, He had prepared a separate courtyard for Cheng Zifeng in case Qiao Xueshi didn't have a good rest. Tanghua and Cheng Zifeng were placed on the bed at the same time and covered with a blanket. Second young master, is this okay? Cheng Zixiao looked at the two of them side by side. He didn't know why, but he felt a little uncomfortable, but he still waved his hand. Take off Cheng Zifeng's clothes. Just leave his underwear. What about second young mistress's underwear? Cheng Zixiao's lips moved. Just unbutton 2 buttons. Don't worry about it. I'll do it. System. Dear host, this scum has you in his heart. Oh, it seems that he doesn't like Qiao Xueshi that much. It was love at first sight for Qiao Xueshi, but for dear host, it's unforgettable. The scariest thing is the feelings that come from small details. If you don't notice it at the beginning, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Cheng Zixiao left, looking back repeatedly. After a certain time, a maid would come over. When that time came, this matter would definitely blow up. Cheng Zixiao returned to the study after doing all this. He couldn't calm down no matter how hard he tried. In the end, he could only walk around the courtyard. Not long after, Qiao Xueshi came over. I'm here to look for Xiaogua. Is she not here? Qiao Xueshi wasn't surprised to see Cheng Zixiao, but she didn't intend to enter the courtyard. She went out. She said she had something to do. I see. Then I'll come over later. Okay, sister-in-law. Cheng Zixiao's heart calmed down a little. Looking at Qiao Xueshi's back, he thought that in a while, he wouldn't have to call Qiao Xueshi sister-in-law. As time passed, Cheng Zixiao's heartbeat accelerated. For some reason, he wanted to go over and take a look. He even wanted to end this plan. But just as he took 2 steps, he remembered that this was the only way he and Xueshi would have a chance, so he resisted the urge to take a step forward. It wasn't until he saw several servant girls rushing over with ugly expressions that his expression changed. Was it a success? Lu Shuang and Lu Wu were sent out by his excuse, so they were not here at this time. Moreover, they could not come back. He had already found someone to control them. On the day Tanghua was sent away, they would follow her. Second young master. Bad news. Bad news? What is it? Second young master, let's go and take a look. We can't make the decision on this matter. The maidservants trembled. Who knew that they would be so unlucky to encounter such a scandal? The second young mistress was obviously such a proud person. How could she do such a disgraceful thing? Cheng Zixiao clenched his fists and followed. When he opened the door and saw the scene inside, he still habitually looked at Tanghua with a very hurt expression, even though he was the one who arranged all this. So you still can't forget Big Brother in your heart? System, swear. Chapter 5477. Actually, we should be husband and wife. Without waiting for Tanghua to speak, Cheng Zifeng spoke up. He subconsciously thought that Tanghua did this because she wanted to get him. He didn't expect her to be so bold. Unfortunately, the Cheng family was already under Cheng Zixiao's control. Even if this matter was exposed, there was no chance for them. Moreover, he didn't have that kind of feeling for her. The person he liked more was Yuan, even though they had a lot to talk about during this period of time. Since things have come to this, I have nothing to say. Since you're not willing to marry me, then from today onwards, you should leave the Cheng family. Cheng Zixiao saw that Tanghua didn't say a word and thought that she was scared silly. He just wanted to end this matter as soon as possible. I'll get someone to send you back to the family, Tang. The divorce papers will be sent to you later. Qiao Xueshi, who heard the news, also ran over. She couldn't believe the scene in front of her. There was no anger in her eyes, only confusion. She didn't understand why Tanghua would do this. At first, she didn't believe that Tanghua would do this. But when she saw that Cheng Zifeng's clothes were disheveled, and he seemed to be very familiar with Tanghua, she fell silent. Sister-in-law, do you want a divorce? Cheng Zixiao suddenly asked. Don't worry, my Cheng family has wronged you. Even if we divorce, my Cheng family will give you a courtyard and compensate you. Qiao Xueshi still couldn't accept the situation in front of her. Moreover, she didn't want to continue with Cheng Zifeng. Now, if she could really divorce, then so be it. I want to divorce. Okay, let's do it together today. Qiao Xueshi suddenly said, Xiaogua, why did you? Tanghua raised her head. It was a pair of very bright eyes. Xiao Shueshi didn't know what to ask. I don't believe it. Were you coerced by Qing Zifeng? Did he use some underhanded means? I knew that he wasn't a good person. Xiao Shueshi said everything in her heart, shocking everyone. Even Qing Zifeng couldn't believe that Xiao Shueshi had such a bad impression of him. Before Tangwa could say anything, Qing Zifeng spoke up. Xiao Shueshi, even if I, Qing Zifeng, am useless, I would never force someone to do something like that. Who knows? You've already been led astray outside. You can't be pulled back anymore. When Xiao Shueshi saw that Tangwa had no intention of refuting her, she was a little disappointed. He's just a rotten person. What's so good about him? Why do you have to sacrifice yourself? Was Zixiao not good enough? Zixiao is so good to you. You will be happy with Zixiao for the rest of your life. You'll regret ruining your reputation, ruining yourself, and ruining everything for that bastard Qing Zifeng. You're usually such a sensible person. Why can't you figure this out? Xiao Shueshi, shut up. Don't call me a rotten person. It's obvious that you're the one who can't win my heart, so you're very jealous. Xiaogua is indeed much better than you. At least she understands me. Qing Zifeng couldn't help but say loudly. When he said that, from Tangwa's point of view, even if there were 100 mouths, it would still be difficult for her to prove her innocence. She had to admit that Qing Zixiao's plan to get someone to pretend that she was the one who arranged for him to communicate with Qing Zifeng was indeed very clever. Since Qing Zifeng had already said that, what else could she say? Sister-in-law, you can go back first. I'll take care of things here. Xiao Shueshi looked at Tangwa with disappointment. She didn't know what to do. Tangwa didn't respond, so she could only leave. Let's go. I've already arranged for someone to send you home. Qing Zixiao didn't ask any more questions. Perhaps he was a little afraid in his heart. The moment she stepped out of the Qing family's gate, Tangwa finally spoke. I don't know what happened either. I don't think anyone will believe me. Since it has already happened, there's no point in explaining. You can go. Chapter 5478. In less than half a day, the scandal of the Qing family's second young mistress and eldest young master spread throughout Yu City. When people discussed this matter, they found it unbelievable, but soon felt that it was reasonable. Speaking of which, the Qing family's second young mistress and eldest young master were originally engaged. Because they were sent to the wrong bridal chamber, they lost their fate as husband and wife. The two of them accidentally lit the firewood between them, so it didn't seem strange that it burned. Of course, many people felt that this matter was shameless and immoral. In any case, because of this matter, the Qing family and the family Tang family lost face. The two elders of the Qing family were so angry that they couldn't do anything. They didn't even see Qing Zifeng and only told Qing Zixiao to do as he saw fit. Qing Zifeng was such a bastard. He was simply a pile of mud that couldn't support the wall. No matter what they did, it was impossible for him to support the entire Qing family. When they heard that Qing Zixiao had already asked someone to send Tangwa back to the family Tang, the two elders of the Qing family didn't say much. Because of this matter, the two of them had aged a lot. They really didn't want to care about anything in the Qing family. At this moment, Tangwa was being criticized by the family Tang family. The people from the family Tang family all came and scolded her. They scolded her for being shameless and didn't give her any chance to explain. The people from the family Tang family didn't give Tangwa a chance to speak, nor did they ask her anything. They waited for everyone to vent their anger before they began to discuss how to deal with this matter. First of all, she can't live in the family Tang family. That's right. If she still lives in the family Tang family, what about the other daughters of the family Tang family? If others know about her, won't they laugh at our family Tang family's daughters? It'll be difficult for them to marry in the future. Actually, it wasn't that exaggerated. At this level, the marriage between two families was most likely a match of equal social status and interests. Although they said this, they still despised Tangwa. They also felt that she was an abandoned and useless pawn. The family Tang couple only had one daughter. The two of them wanted a son, but they didn't have the fate. Mrs. Tang was almost 40 years old now, but she still wanted a son. She had been taking medicine to nourish her body. Father Tang wanted to marry a concubine, but Mother Tang was more domineering. Father Tang still had to rely on Mother Tang, so he didn't dare to do that. Tangwa's mother only cared about herself because she wanted a son. Therefore, she didn't have deep feelings for Tangwa. Previously, she had still treated her as a daughter. But now, because of this matter, she despised her and wished she didn't have this daughter. Even if you're not satisfied with second brother Chung, you shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't have used this method to protest. Now that you've done something so shameful, even if I'm your mother, I can't protect you anymore. In this family, we can't tolerate anyone who doesn't abide by the rules. Father Tang, there's a small courtyard in the north. You can live there in the future. After leaving the family, Tang, you have nothing to do with this place anymore. Why don't you ask me if this is true? Father Tang frowned. So many people saw it, and you still want to deny it? Since you dared to do such a thing, don't shirk responsibility. The last time you came back, I could tell that you were very resentful because you were sent to the wrong bridal chamber. You want to use this method to take revenge on second brother Cheng and us, right? Just because we didn't do as you wanted? Xiaogua, this is your fault. We're already being very kind to you by letting you live in the north and not letting you live on the streets. Mother Tang said, you've made such a big mistake and you're still living here. If others don't think that we've forgiven you and that you didn't do anything wrong, then it's our family Tang style that has a problem. Chapter 5479. Tangwa couldn't help but laugh. Does the family Tang have family traditions? Some people only have one daughter on the surface and pretend to dote on their wife, but in reality, they have countless illegitimate children. It would be a joke if word got out that such a Tang family has family traditions. As soon as Tangwa said this, everyone was stunned. Then, they realized something and instinctively looked at Father Tang. They realized that when Tangwa said this, she was looking at Father Tang. Since you won't listen to my explanation and can't tolerate me anymore, then from today onwards, I'm no longer a part of the family Tang. After Tangwa finished speaking, she turned around and left. She didn't care that the people behind her were still immersed in her words. As she turned around, she glanced at Mother Tang's expression. She looked like she was about to break down and couldn't believe it. In the end, her eyes turned fierce. She slowly walked towards the Tang family's main gate. Just as she stepped out of the gate, she heard screams and curses coming from inside. Her expression relaxed. She had gone through all the trouble to come back. Wasn't it just to tell Mother Tang this secret? She didn't want Father Tang to marry a mistress. It was actually very easy for a man to have illegitimate children. He had money and power. There were plenty of women willing to bear his children. There was really no way to control this. Mother Tang was still working hard to nurse her body back to health, but he had 5 illegitimate children on the outside. She didn't dare to bring them back now. When Mother Tang's body couldn't nurse her body back to health, or when she was no longer needed, she could only pinch her nose and accept it. She had given Mother Tang 2 chances. The first time she went back to her parents' home, and the second time today. If Mother Tang had been a little nicer to her, at least listened to her explanation, let her finish her sentence, or helped her investigate the truth, Father Tang would have had to face the consequences. Clearly, the original owner of this body was the eldest daughter of the family Tang. On the surface, it looked like she was living a glorious life, but in reality, only she could understand it. This eldest daughter of the family had never been happy since she was young. Even though she didn't lack for food and clothes, she didn't receive much love from her parents. On the contrary, Father Tang and Mother Tang would often mutter that Mother Tang had hurt her body giving birth to her, which made it difficult for her to conceive. In reality, that wasn't the case at all. It was just that Mrs. Tang's health wasn't very good to begin with. Of course, it would be even worse after she gave birth. After a few miscarriages, her health must have deteriorated. On the day of the original owner's return, she also mentioned that she didn't want to make the best of her mistakes. She also said that she and Cheng Zixiao weren't husband and wife at all, so it wasn't too late. However, before she could finish speaking, the family Tang couple rejected her and analyzed the pros and cons for her. Looking at the two of them, the original owner didn't want to tell them that she almost lost her life on the night of her wedding. After this happened, she cried and explained to the two of them that she really didn't do those things and that she was framed. However, no one believed her at all. Everyone said that she was just making excuses, including the couple. They didn't let her live on the streets directly because they cared about their reputation. If the eldest daughter of the family Tang family really lived on the streets and fell into depravity, then something even more shameful happened. The family Tang family would lose face. The original owner was actually a very outstanding girl. After moving out of the family Tang family, she was able to support herself with her own abilities. However, when she found out the truth and planned to take revenge, she was kidnapped by Cheng Zixiao and didn't have any chance to make a comeback. If she wasn't smart, she wouldn't have negotiated with the bandits in the end and even been treated as a girl by the bandits. Chapter 5480. Dear host, where are you going now? Don't you want to stay in the family Tang courtyard? Do you have any money on you? I don't have any money. Don't you have some in the system space? You can get 2 small yellow croakers. I won't starve to death. Yes, there's a lot in the system space. You won't starve to death. There's also a lot of food in there. Dear host, do you want to eat? I'm not hungry for the time being. Cheng Zixiao should be arranging for someone to send me away soon. That's all for now. The first person to find Tanghua was Yin Qing. He stopped Tanghua at the entrance of a small alley, blocking her way and preventing her from leaving. You told me not to interfere with Cheng Zixiao's affairs, so I didn't. Now that your reputation is gone and you've left the family Tang courtyard, I don't know why you want to cut off all your escape routes. Yin Qing really couldn't understand. The current situation was really disadvantageous for her. How could she walk on the street so leisurely and not panic at all, as if she was shopping? He also noticed that she didn't have a bag with her. She was only wearing a cheongsam and her hands were empty. No, she wasn't empty-handed. At least there was a jade bracelet on her right hand. When Yin Qing saw that Tanghua didn't answer and only looked at him, he felt a little nervous. His earlier self-confidence was gone. Why don't you come to my place? You can stay as long as you want. I guarantee that your life won't be worse than when you were the second young mistress of the Cheng family. No one will restrict you. You can do whatever you want. God knows who gave him the courage to say so much to her. However, these were the words in his heart. He had already thought about it. When he brought her back, he would tell his brothers that she was the one who gave them the big things. That way, in the eyes of his brothers, she would always be respected and no one would think that she was a freeloader. He also had to explain that she had nothing to do with the eldest son of the Qing family and that it was all Cheng Zixiao's doing. She had always been innocent. Even if outsiders didn't believe it, his brothers had to know. He didn't know why she did this, but he felt that she had a certain purpose. She was so capable. Just by hiding so many big things, no man could compare to her. He didn't believe that she had watched everything happen just to put herself in a perilous situation without any other motives. Where is your home? Tanghua asked. Yin Qing replied, It's on the mountain. Although it's on the mountain, the environment is not bad. They even built a beautiful courtyard. If you need anything, you can ask someone to go down the mountain to buy it. Tanghua looked down at her shoes. Yin Qing also looked down and found that she was wearing a pair of beautiful high heels. I'm afraid the road is not easy to walk on, Tanghua said. Yin Qing was a little anxious. Chapter 5481. What else do you need to do? I can help you. Yin Qing added, If you don't mind, just tell me. Tanghua, there's something I need your help with. Yin Qing was delighted. He looked at her seriously, waiting for her to continue. Soon, a group of people will appear. They plan to send me somewhere far away. Cheng Zixiao's men? Yin Qing frowned. He had been monitoring Cheng Zixiao all this time. Nothing the other party did could escape his eyes. There were many capable people among his brothers, and it took them a lot of effort to find out what Cheng Zixiao was up to. Tanghua didn't answer or deny it. She continued, When they take me far away, find some people to pretend to be bandits and kidnap me. When the time comes, cooperate with me, and I'll jump into the sea during the conflict. Don't worry, I can swim. Yin Qing, that's not a problem. I'll wait for you in the sea. That way, nothing will go wrong. I'll find someone else to pretend to be a bandit. He was a bandit. Why would he need to pretend to be one? She should know who he was, but she just had to say something like that. Fine, fine. She can say whatever she wants. It's not a big deal anyway. System. Even if it's a big deal, can you really refuse? What do you plan to do now? Yen Qing asked. What I mean is, where are you going to stay for the next few days? You don't seem to have brought anything with you. Tangwa touched the jade bracelet on her wrist, but she was actually looking at Yen Qing. Yen Qing had already searched his body and found a bag of money. I only brought this much today. I don't usually spend money, so I'll bring more tomorrow. No, I'll ask my brothers for it later. You can use it first. Don't pawn the bracelet. It looks good on you. After some thought, Yen Qing asked again, did you buy this bracelet, or is it a gift? I bought it. Yen Qing heaved a sigh of relief. Since you bought it yourself, just keep it. If Cheng Zixiao gives you some, pawn it early. That guy isn't worth keeping his things. Wait for me here. I'll go get the money. Don't go. I really can't go. I'll be back soon. Yen Qing said as he ran. He even gave her a warning look, afraid that she would run away. Tangwa didn't leave. She waited in the alley. Not long after, Yen Qing ran back, sweating profusely. She was holding many money bags in her hands. After seeing her, she rummaged through the money bags and put them into a beautiful bag. He had just bought this bag on the street. It looked good and suited her quite well. It should be enough for a few days. Yen Qing handed the small bag to Tangwa. I'll bring more tomorrow. My brothers don't spend a lot of money, so they don't bring much. It doesn't add up to much. Actually, we have money. You don't have to worry, Yen Qing explained. We're really not poor. We just don't like spending money recklessly. Tangwa took the small bag and said, Thank you. You're welcome. This is what I should do. You've helped us a lot, Yen Qing said. The things you gave me before are priceless. Of course, the reason why he wanted to help her was not because of those things. He just wanted to find an excuse to prevent her from thinking too much. He knew that she wasn't a weak woman, but he just wanted to protect her. Yen Qing watched as Tangwa walked into the hotel. He finally breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't have the intention to leave. He found a place to sit down. Not long after, his brothers caught up with him. Chapter 5482. Boss, what did you do with our money? Did you fall in love with a girl? Boss, are you looking for your sister-in-law? Why don't I see her? I saw you buy a bag just now. It's obviously for a girl. Too bad I came too late. Yen Qing's lackeys were surprised that Yen Qing did not refute. Could it be that their boss finally decided to look for their sister-in-law? If so, it was really good news. She might not fall in love with me. She just agreed to stay on the mountain for a while. She's in some trouble now, Yen Qing said. His lackeys squatted beside him and listened carefully. Boss, if she's willing to go up the mountain with you, it means there's hope. Yen Qing rolled his eyes. You don't understand. This is a special situation. By the way, if she feels that the road up the mountain is difficult to walk on, how long will it take to build it? Boss, are you kidding? If we build that road, won't we lose our natural advantage? Yen Qing frowned. What if her shoes are difficult to walk on and she doesn't want to go up the mountain? Think of a way. Boss, you're walking into a dead end. How heavy can a girl be? Since she's our sister-in-law, we have to carry her up. Yen Qing thought for a while. Why do you have to carry her? What's wrong with carrying our sister-in-law? I feel bad. Will she think that I'm not attentive? Yen Qing hesitated. She needs us to carry her. Boss, do you want to carry her yourself? Or carry her on your back? Yen Qing's eyes lit up. Okay, let's do that. This way, I can show her my strong body. Good job, boss. Our sister-in-law will definitely be mesmerized by your strong body. His lackeys cheered. By the way, boss, where is our sister-in-law from? Yen Qing, do you know where the guys we met last time came from? She gave them to me. Yen Qing was satisfied when he saw his lackey's shocked expressions. Boss, we've decided on our sister-in-law. If you can't handle her, don't come back to the mountain anymore. Seeing how excited his lackeys were, Yen Qing did not hide it and told them about Tangwa's identity. She's in some trouble now. In a few days, we have to pretend to be bandits and do something for her. Only then will she come with me. Boss, we are bandits. Don't interrupt. Wait for me to speak. Yin Qing interrupted his underling. She's the person the entire Yu city is talking about today, the second young mistress of the Qing family, the daughter of the family Tang, Tanghua. Now that she can't go back to the Qing family, she can't go back to the family Tang either. Yin Qing was pleased to see that there was no disgust on his lackeys' faces. As expected, they were his lackeys. Boss, wasn't second young madam framed by Qing Zixiao? The lackey who spoke was the one who was sent to keep an eye on Qing Zixiao. Boss said not to interfere in Qing Zixiao's matters. I thought you wanted to see the Qing family get into trouble. She was the one who told me not to stop Qing Zixiao from doing anything. The lackeys were confused, and so was Yin Qing. I don't know what she wants, but I just want to bring her up the mountain. Boss, just tell us what to do. Just from the fact that sister-in-law gave us those things, it shows that she's definitely not simple. Qing Zixiao's eyesight is not good. Yeah, he's blind, Yin Qing added. Then, he told them about his plan. After everything was arranged, Yin Qing's men were already guarding the hotel. When Tanghua came out in the afternoon, some people quietly walked past her and called her sister-in-law. They even said that they would protect her and told her not to worry. Looking at these people's respectful faces, she suspected that Yin Qing had bewitched them. To Tanghua's surprise, the next day, Xiao Shueshi came to her place and asked to see her. Since she was here, she didn't refuse to meet her. I thought about it and felt that something was wrong. Xiao Shueshi kept staring at Tanghua's face. How could you fall for that rotten man Qing Zifeng? Xiaogua, tell me honestly, do you know something? Chapter 5483. Know what? Tanghua asked instead of answering. Xiao Shueshi was a little anxious. She wanted to say something, but she didn't know what to say. Yes, what could Tanghua know? She knew that she was being framed, so she didn't resist? Xiao Shueshi thought that there shouldn't be such a silly person in this world. She knew that she was being framed, but she watched herself fall into such a state with no way forward and no way back. You're innocent, aren't you? You couldn't have fallen for Qing Zifeng, Xiao Shueshi continued. You don't have to deny that. If you had fallen for Qing Zifeng, you wouldn't have done something so unfavorable to yourself. That's not your style. She lowered her head. If it were me, I might have made a mistake in a moment of folly. But you, she raised her head again. You definitely wouldn't. Xiao Shueshi was like this because she was a little muddle-headed and foolish. Sometimes, her emotions would lead her to do things that she would later regret. Tanghua wouldn't do that because Tanghua was smart. She would never do something so unfavorable to herself. At this point, no one will believe me. Tanghua didn't refute this point. She couldn't admit that she had done such a thing. She expected Xiao Shueshi to come to her, but she didn't expect her to think it through the next day. You can explain. Look, even I believe you. As long as you explain, more people will believe you, Xiao Shueshi said anxiously. Those who know you will believe you even more. You and Zixiao have been living under the same roof for so long. I believe that as long as you explain, he will believe you. Although there were some bad things in the beginning between the two of you, you both believe in each other and will get over this hurdle. Tanghua rested her chin on her hand and looked at Xiao Shueshi's serious face calmly. Xiao Shueshi was a little angry when she saw that Xiao Shueshi wasn't moved. Are you angry? Is it because no one believed you yesterday? No. Tanghua denied. She put down her hand, sat up straight and leaned against the back of the chair. If I could explain, I would have had a chance to explain yesterday, but no one gave me the chance. Come with me to the Qing family and tell Zixiao. Xiao Shueshi grabbed Tanghua's hand and said, Let's go. I promise you with my character and my share of the fortune. Tanghua pushed Xiao Shueshi's hand away and comforted her. He won't believe it. No matter how many times I explain, he won't believe me. How would I know if I don't try? Tanghua's gaze landed on Xiao Shueshi's face. Before you came, you must have explained it several times, right? Has he ever written a letter or wavered? Xiao Shueshi was speechless. She had already figured it out last night. She had divorced Qing Zifeng during the day and hadn't moved out of the Qing family yet. Qing Zixiao said that he still needed to take inventory of the Qing family's assets and distribute them to her when the time came. He also needed to tidy up the empty courtyard before she could move in. Therefore, she was temporarily staying with the Chung family. After figuring it out last night, she couldn't sleep. She got up and went to find Cheng Zixiao with her servant girl to analyze the matter with him. Cheng Zixiao didn't believe it and even said that Tangwa didn't have him in her heart. After all, they weren't husband and wife yet. If she had him in her heart, why would she keep rejecting him? Xiao Shuexi's mind exploded when she heard this. In her eyes, Tangwa was always thinking about Cheng Zixiao. She considered everything and never forgot about him when there was something good in the family. Why did Cheng Zixiao think that Tangwa didn't have him in her heart? Chapter 5484. However, no matter how much she refuted, Cheng Zixiao stubbornly insisted on his opinion and told her not to interfere in this matter anymore. In his words, he implied that this matter was a mistake from the beginning and that he had forced her too much. Splitting up now was the best outcome for them. Xiao Shueshi was very angry. This was not a good outcome at all. She felt that Tangwa had been framed. Now that she had left the family Tang, everyone in Yu City was talking about it. If she did not explain this matter clearly early, she would never be able to make a comeback in this life. This morning, she went to see Cheng Zixiao again, but still did not get through. In the end, she could only come out to find out about Tangwa's whereabouts. After hearing about it, she hurried over. Maybe if you explain it, he will believe you. Xiao Shueshi could feel how untrustworthy her tone was. Let's just leave it at that. Cheng Zixiao is right. This is a wrong beginning. There is no need to continue. Even if we separate, don't you plan to prove your innocence? How can I prove it? Tangwa asked with a smile. Someone wants to destroy my innocence. They have achieved their goal. Can you guarantee that they won't come up with new tricks when I go to explain? Xiao Shueshi could not help but stomp her foot. I don't know who is so evil. If I find out, I will not let them go. My foot is about to be broken, Xiao Shueshi said in annoyance. At this point, you can really keep your composure. So what if I can't keep my composure? I have to live and start over, right? After all, I am no longer the second young mistress of the Cheng family, nor am I the young lady of the family Tang. Xiao Shueshi was a little hesitant. Then she asked, your parents don't believe you either? It doesn't matter whether they believe me or not. In their eyes, I will only embarrass the family Tang. I am no longer of any use. Xiao Shueshi heard that Mr. Tang had a mistress outside and had 5 illegitimate children. Currently, he was in a big fight with Mrs. Tang. The Tang family had also become a real laughingstock. She had also heard that Mrs. Tang was eager to have children. In this way, Tangwa seemed to be living a good life, but in reality, she was not as happy as she imagined. What do you plan to do now? We can't stay here forever. By the way, Xiao Shueshi took out something from her bag and handed it to Tangwa. Take this. It'll last you for a while. Then I won't be polite. Tangwa didn't refuse. If she refused, the other party would definitely not let it go. How's your divorce with Cheng Zifeng coming along? I've already written the divorce papers. Zixiao is still taking inventory of the family assets and tidying up the courtyard for me. Ask him to assign a few more people to you. Living alone, it's inevitable that some people will have other ideas. Tangwa reminded her, filial piety is good, but don't be foolishly filial. Your parents gave birth to you, so you should repay their kindness and retire. Don't be manipulated by them. Xiao Shueshi, I know. I'm not the same person I used to be. After the incident with Cheng Zifeng, she was no longer the simple Xiao Shueshi. She would also think for herself and learn to be selfish. She was no longer a puppet who was controlled by emotions. No one could use emotions to restrain her or restrain her. You still haven't told me what you plan to do next. I'm going to rest for a few days and then look for a place to live. I'll see if there's anything I can do. After all, I have to rely on myself now. System. Host. You're making it sound so nice. Xiao Shueshi believed her and even said that when she received more money, Tangwa could ask for anything she wanted. Before she left, Xiao Shueshi said, I'll help you find the person who framed you. Okay. Tangwa smiled as she watched Xiao Shueshi leave. Chapter 5485. Zixiao, I want to see Xiao Gua. Xiao Shueshi came back and ran to Cheng Zixiao's courtyard. She stopped at the entrance and raised her voice. She said that she's innocent and was framed. I hope you can believe her. The family is in a mess now, and no one is speaking up for her. If you don't believe her, she must be very sad. She's homeless now and said that she's going to find something to do in a few days. She started off as the eldest miss and then became the second young mistress. Suddenly, she wants to do something outside. Can you bear to see that? She's never suffered before. It's so chaotic outside now. It's not easy for a girl like her to live a good life. Xiaogua is really not that kind of person. Zixiao, you have to believe her. No matter what, you have to talk face to face. Maybe there'll be a turn for the better. It's impossible that she doesn't have you in her heart. It's just fate that hasn't arrived yet. If she doesn't have you, why would she be so considerate of you? Take me for example. I used to like Zifeng so much. Later, he betrayed me and trampled on my feelings. I slowly stopped liking him. I used to be sad that he had a woman outside and hoped that he would turn over a new leaf. Later, I stopped liking him and didn't care about what he did outside. I'm not afraid of you holding a grudge. Instead of letting him come back to anger me, I'd rather not see him and not be troubled. He can do whatever he wants outside. As long as he doesn't come back and disturb my life, everything will be fine. Zixiao, this is the difference between liking and not liking. Xiao Shueshi's mouth was dry from talking. She was sure that he could hear her, but he didn't respond. She waited for a while, but Cheng Zixiao still didn't say anything. She could only leave in disappointment. Cheng Zixiao was indeed listening in the room. Of course, he knew better than anyone that Tanghua was innocent. Since things had already come to this point, they had to continue. He liked Shueshi, so no matter what, Tanghua had to leave. He would make it up to her. During this period of time, he didn't just take inventory of the family assets to give to Shueshi. What he gave to Shueshi was only a small part. There was no need to make such a big fuss. He would let her take away half of the family's assets. She would not have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of her life. To prevent himself from thinking too much, Cheng Zixiao tossed aside all distracting thoughts and immediately got busy. A few days later, Xiao Shueshi brought a few servants and moved into another courtyard. This courtyard now belonged to her. At the same time, Cheng Zixiao also cashed in a small portion of his family property and let Tanghua take it away. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed, and Cheng Zixiao was finally done. Let's do it. I heard that the south is very peaceful now, so let's send her there. You are the person I trust the most. You must wait until everything is settled before coming back. Understood, second young master. The next day, Tanghua was drugged and put into the carriage again. Because they were in a hurry, they could only use the most primitive horse carriages. There was also a box inside, and the box was filled with small yellow croakers. On the way, Tanghua woke up around the same time. After waking up, she also saw Lu Shuang Lu Wu. Seeing her wake up, the two quickly asked her how she was. What happened? Miss, we don't know. There was a mysterious person who said that he would help you and send you to a safe place. We were imprisoned in a room before, so we had no choice but to wait. Today, we finally saw you. The mysterious person didn't seem to have any intention of hurting you. Chapter 5486. Hey, who's the master of your house? Tanghua asked pretentiously. Someone outside replied, Miss Tang, don't worry. We will send you to a safe place. Who is your master? I'm sorry, but we can't tell you. Miss Tang, just stay in the carriage. We will call you when we reach the place. Master left you some money, so you won't have to worry about food or clothing for the rest of your life. Tanghua didn't buy it. It's Cheng Zixiao, isn't it? Tao Hutsai was shocked and almost fell off the horse. Fortunately, he was a man who had been through a lot. Miss Tang, don't make wild guesses. Don't deny it. I know it's him. Tanghua leaned against the carriage. He's doing so much. Isn't it because he thinks that I'm occupying another person's position? He's eager to vacate that position, isn't it? I know. So I didn't struggle. Tao Hutsai didn't know what to say this time. This was completely unexpected. Tangwa knew everything, so why didn't she make a fuss? Sending me away and giving me these worldly possessions. Does he feel even a little guilty? But these things can't make up for some things. There are clearly other ways to solve it. Why did he have to ruin my reputation? Tao Hutsai didn't answer because the truth was very cruel. Only the person who was favored by the second young master could receive the second young master's painstaking efforts to please her. Everything was planned for her, so that she wouldn't suffer any hardship. Only the person who was favored by the second young master could live a stable life and protect her. He couldn't bear to see her suffer even the slightest bit. Obviously, Tangua wasn't the second young master, but Xiao Shueshi was. Even if he also thought that Tangua was very good, the second young master didn't like her. He respected only those who the second young master liked. It's because he wants to protect someone else. He really thought of everything. Tao Hutsai didn't answer. He saw that Tangwa didn't have any intention to resist, so he ordered his men to continue on their journey. No matter how much she knew, the only thing he needed to do now was to send her to the destination the second young master arranged. It was a long journey, and she had no way to return. Furthermore, he would leave some people at that place to protect and keep an eye on her so that she wouldn't appear and affect second young master and Xiao Shueshi. Tangwa didn't say anything more. Lu Shuang and Lu Wu in the carriage were shocked. The person who framed their young miss was actually second young master? Tangwa saw that their eyes were red and tears kept falling. She comforted them. It's just a change of place to live. It's not a big deal. In the future, I'll be free and unrestrained, with no one controlling me. Lu Shuang Lu Wu was still crying. Clearly, Miss treated second young master so well. Why would second young master treat Miss like this? Was the Chung family really a place where ingrates were born? One was fickle in love, while the other was infatuated. However, both of them were infatuated with someone else, and even came to hurt their young Mississippi. Half a day's journey was extremely silent. Tao Hutsai planned to rest for a while. He even handed a glass of water to Tangwa. Miss Tang, it's a long journey. Drink some. Tangwa looked outside and listened to the sound of horses' hooves. She took the water bag from Tao Hutsai. Just as she opened it to drink, the sound of horses' hooves came closer. Tao Hutsai himself didn't have any reaction. When the people on the horses appeared in his sight, he immediately became alert. Because these people were all wearing the same clothes. They even covered their faces, leaving only 2 places for their eyes. Not only that, these people were holding real weapons. Although he also had one in his hand, it was only one. Chapter 5487. Brothers of the Underworld, this is the Cheng family's carriage. I hope you can make it easy for us. Tao Hutsai didn't panic and quickly cupped his hands. He even had someone bring out a small box and gave it to the other party. It's just a small token of my appreciation. These masked men were Yin Qing's underlings. They had already found out about the route Cheng Zixiao had arranged, so they chose the best location to make their move. Hearing Tao Hutsai's words, these masked men were unmoved. One of the leaders said, Qing family? What Qing family? We don't know them. You can go, but leave everything behind. Tao Hutsai's expression was ugly. This was a main road with no mountains around it. It was even close to the sea. He had never heard of this road being occupied by bandits or anything like that before. Could it be a new one? That would be bad. The things in the carriage were for Miss Tang's use in her next life. If they were stolen, it would be terrible. He wouldn't be able to explain himself. However, the other party looked aggressive and had real weapons in their hands. They were just people and didn't dare to make a move. Things have changed. Ask Miss Tang to get off the carriage. At this point, there was no way to fight head-on. They could only compromise. He knew that the second young master definitely didn't want Tanghua to lose her life. Money was just a worldly possession. Losing it wasn't a big deal, but if something happened to her, he really wouldn't be able to explain himself. Tactful. After Tanghua was asked to get off the carriage, Tao Hutsai whispered in her ear, Miss Tang, it looks like we'll be delayed for a while. We can only go to the nearest town for now. Tanghua didn't reply. Tao Hutsai wasn't embarrassed. He had expected this. Wait. Just as the group was about to leave, the leader of the masked men appeared again. At the same time, many black pipes were pointed at them. Leave that woman behind. This beautiful woman was, of course, Tangwa. Tao Hutsai's expression was ugly. Brothers of the underworld, you're going too far. Too far? This road is mine today. If you don't want to die, hurry up and leave the three women behind. Tao Hutsai obviously wasn't willing. Do you know the Cheng family of Fish City? I don't care which family you are from. Just leave those three women behind. Tao Hutsai had already taken out his weapon, but a black pipe was directly pressed against his head. He didn't dare to move for a moment. He didn't even know when the other party's men had snuck up to him. Alarmed, he thought, offending the Chung clan won't end well for you. That's right. How come I heard that the Chung family of Fish City was once taught a lesson? Aren't they still obediently paying the toll now? The masked subordinate chuckled in his heart. It shouldn't be a problem for him to praise himself tactfully, right? Tao Hutsai's lungs were pierced, and he choked for a moment. Chapter 5488. Tao Hutsai's body swayed. He couldn't control himself and fell off the horse. Thinking of what he had just heard, he ignored the pain and rushed to the edge of the cliff. All he saw was the gently rolling sea. Tangwa was long gone. His face darkened. The voices of the bandits that entered his ears made him burn with anger, almost making him lose his mind. However, each of these bandits had a big weapon in their hands, which immediately extinguished the fire that had ignited within him. How unlucky. I thought she was very cooperative. I didn't expect her to be so fierce and jump off the cliff. Forget it. There are many good things in the carriage. Boss should be satisfied. Also, take these two maids back. Less losses. Tao Hutsai resisted the urge to take out his weapon and watched the group of people leave with hatred. He immediately asked someone to go down the cliff. Unfortunately, the sea was endless. Even if they knew how to swim, it wasn't easy to find someone. After searching for a long time, Tao Hutsai wiped the sweat off his face. He was soaked and sat on the rock, panting. His expression was full of confusion. After working for Second Master for so many years, this was the first time he had failed so thoroughly. He couldn't imagine how Second Master would react when he found out that he had lost both the girl and the money. He felt that Second Master had schemed so much not because he wanted Tangwa to die. Brother Tao, I'm afraid she's gone. I know. Tao Hutsai's throat was dry. Let's go back to receive our punishment. Tao Hutsai jumped on the horse, looked back, and finally rode away. Clean clothes are ready. Go in and change. On the other side, Yin Qing brought Tangwa ashore and pointed at the carriage. He waited outside the carriage for Tangwa to go in. You said that you'll live on the mountain after you're done. Is that true? Do you think I can go anywhere else? Tangwa asked. Have you fixed the road? No. Yin Qing added. I have a way to make it easy for you to go up the mountain. In order to practice this, he often carried 50 kilograms stones up and down. In his opinion, she was less than 50 kilograms, so it was easy for him to go up and down. Tangwa changed and got out of the carriage. Sure enough, I knew you would look good in this dress. Tangwa looks at the familiar stitches and gently raises her eyebrows. Yun's tailor shop? Yeah, I accidentally saw you going in and out of that place. You probably like their clothes. Tangwa nodded gently. I like it very much. She went back into the carriage. Her intention was clear. Yin Qing grinned happily and ordered his men to change their clothes on the spot. They took off their masks and dressed as ordinary people. Then, they rode on their horses and led the carriage forward. In less than half a day, Tangwa arrived at the foot of the mountain in a carriage. Looking at the tall and steep mountain, as well as the winding road, Tangwa lowered her head and glanced at the shoes she was wearing. What Yin Qing prepared was still a pair of high heels. She glanced at Yin Qing. Yin Qing coughed softly and threw the things in his hands to his subordinates before squatting down in front of her. Let's go up the mountain. Yin Qing's back is facing Tangwa. He was actually very nervous because he couldn't see her reaction. He added, I'm strong and fast. It's the easiest way to go up the mountain. After saying that, Tangwa was already lying on his back. Yin Qing was very happy. He carried her on his back and climbed up the mountain as if he was flying. He thought that she was indeed much lighter than the 50-kilogram stones. Chapter 5489. Boss's strength has increased. It seems that carrying rocks up and down the mountain every day really trains his strength. Boss carries someone and runs faster than us. We almost can't catch up. You don't understand. If you carry a beautiful woman on your back, and it's your wife, you'll run as fast as Boss. Lu Shuang and Lu Wu were completely dumbfounded. Who knew what they had experienced in the past half a day? First, they met Mississippi. Then, they found out that the person who framed Miss was actually Cheng Zixiao. Then, they met a group of bandits. The bandits didn't ask for enough money. They wanted people. They didn't expect Miss to jump off the cliff again. Before they could react, they were captured by the bandits. They didn't even have the chance to grieve before they were taken away. They were really desperate on that part of the road. In the end, they were taken to a carriage not long after. They saw Miss appear in front of them. She was alive. It seemed that Miss was very familiar with this group of bandits. Now, they actually wanted to follow her up the mountain. If it was before, they would definitely be scared to death. But now that they saw the bandit leader carrying Miss up the mountain, they actually felt that there was nothing wrong with going up the mountain. They had served Miss for many years, but they had never seen someone who spoiled Miss so much. They used to think that Cheng Zixiao was the right person. After all, Cheng Zixiao would also consider some details and would give Miss all kinds of rare things. But the other party schemed and framed Mississippi. He didn't like Miss at all, so naturally, they excluded him. The bandit in front of them looked like a rascal, but he was the first person who was willing to bend down for Mississippi. It was such a steep mountain with such a difficult path. Even if he didn't carry any weight, just walking was very difficult. Yet, he was willing to carry Miss up the mountain. He had prepared a cheongsam and a pair of beautiful high-heeled shoes for the young lady. It was obvious that he had no intention of letting the young lady lie down on her own. If this person is good, so what if he's a bandit? It's better than someone who looks like a human but is actually a beast, Lu Shuang said. Lu Wu nodded. Yes, I see that Miss is very happy. Much happier than when she was in the Cheng family. As long as Miss likes it, we'll just follow. Lu Shuang looked at the people behind her and whispered, and I don't see that their faces are fierce. They don't look bad. If they were bad, why didn't anyone get hurt today? It's obvious that they came here to save Mississippi, you're right. The two of them looked at each other with smiles in their eyes. At the same time, Tao Hatsai had also brought his men back to the Cheng family. The group of people rode their horses back to the Cheng family in a hurry. Their bodies were drenched, and they looked miserable. Anyone who saw them would think that something big had happened. The moment Cheng Zixiao saw Tao Hatsai, he had a bad feeling. He subconsciously looked around, but he didn't see anyone familiar. His heart almost jumped out of his chest. He controlled his tone and asked as calmly as possible, He Kai, why are you back? Second young master, I'm sorry. I'm useless. Tao Hatsai heard Cheng Zixiao's words and immediately knelt on the ground. Second young master, please punish me. Cheng Zixiao was still trying to control his emotions, but his nervous eyes betrayed him. What happened? Tell me first. Second young master, Miss Tang. What's wrong with her? Cheng Zixiao finally couldn't control himself and rushed to Tao Hatsai. Chapter 5490. Cheng Zixiao instinctively grabbed Tao Hatsai's shoulder with so much force that it hurt. Only then did he realize that Tanghua was more important to the second young master than he had imagined. Miss Tang might have already passed away. What did you say? Hatsai, you've always done things steadily and never joke around. I'll give you one more chance. Speak properly. Cheng Zixiao's expression changed. You know me. I don't like to joke around. Tao Hatsai's mouth was bitter. When we passed by the main road by the sea, we met a group of bandits accompanying the real thing. First, they wanted to rob us. We couldn't fight them, so we abandoned the carriage and planned to temporarily take Miss Tang to a nearby town. Who would have thought that when the bandits saw Miss Tang's appearance, They became greedy and wanted to take her back to be their boss's wife. At the time, I wanted to fight with my life on the line. Who would have thought that Miss Tang would agree to go with them? Without waiting for Tao Hutsai to continue, Cheng Zixiao asked, "Why didn't you stop them?" "I wanted to stop them, but Miss Tang said so that I couldn't." Cheng Zixiao let go of Tao Hutsai and asked with furrowed brows, "What did she say?" "She said that she was going to be sent away." Being sent to a faraway place was no different from being taken away by bandits. In the end, Tao Hutsai added, "Second young master, Miss Tang knew everything that you planned. You knew Miss Chiao and schemed against her and the eldest young master. You ruined her reputation and planned to send her to the south. She knew everything. So, at the time, she left without hesitation. And then, since she was taken away by bandits, how could she have passed away?" Cheng Zixiao's heart relaxed a little. As long as she was alive, there was still a chance to take her back. How could he say that she had passed away? "That was what I thought at the time. I planned to come back and tell second young master about it." Tao Hutsai's voice was hoarse. "I didn't expect to hear Lu Shuang and Tang with screams just as I rode my horse. They yelled that the miss had jumped into the sea. After the incident, I brought people to search the sea for a long time, but there was no trace of Miss Tang. Miss Tang didn't know how to swim. Her chances of survival were close to zero." Tao Hutsai's words completely destroyed Cheng Zixiao's hope. His mind was filled with the thought that she had jumped into the sea. His face was pale, and he staggered a few steps back. His whole body swayed as he sat on the chair, his mind in a mess. He no longer had any thoughts about the perfect plan and how to make Xiao Shueshi accept him. Tao Hutsai was still kneeling on the ground. Looking at Cheng Zixiao, his eyes were red and he didn't know what to say. "He Kai is useless. Second young master, please punish him." Cheng Zixiao stared blankly at the battered Tao Hutsai. Tao Hutsai only managed to survive after encountering so many bandits. He was extremely lucky. How could it be Tao Hutsai's fault? Even if he was the one who encountered this at that time, he still couldn't do anything. He still couldn't stop her from jumping into the sea, right? Who would have thought that she would do this without hesitation? However, the person who had facilitated all of this was actually him. "Second young master, don't be too sad." Tao Hutsai felt sorry for Cheng Zixiao. If he had known that Miss Tang was so important to Cheng Zixiao, he would have tried to persuade him instead of doing whatever Cheng Zixiao wanted him to do. The room was very quiet. Cheng Zixiao didn't say anything, so Tao he didn't dare to say anything. He didn't know what to say. Chapter 5491. Not long after, Cheng Zixiao woke up with a start. He stood up and rushed outside. "Take me to that place and look for her. Maybe she was washed to that shore?" Cheng Zixiao said stubbornly. "Hurry up and look for her. Maybe we can still find her. We can't give up now." Tao Hutsai quickly got up. Although he knew that the chances were slim, he still gathered his men and followed Cheng Zixiao out. He saw Cheng Zixiao's red eyes and opened his mouth, but he still didn't know what to say. He knew that second young master regretted it. Maybe he regretted planning all this, or maybe he regretted sending her away. Otherwise, she wouldn't have gotten into trouble. Why didn't she resist when she knew my plan? Why didn't she point it out? Why didn't she secretly do something to protect herself? Cheng Zixiao urged the horse and asked Tao Hutsai. Despite the strong wind, Tao Hutsai still heard him clearly. However, he couldn't answer because the answer would break second young master. What else could it be? It could only be because his heart was cold. He saw with his own eyes how Miss Tang's attitude towards second young master changed. She had slowly accepted him. However, second young master's actions pushed her into the abyss. She didn't want to struggle anymore, or maybe she felt that it was meaningless. At first, it was a conspiracy to send her to the wrong bridal chamber. Second young master took the initiative to take responsibility and used the excuse that he liked her too much. When she slowly accepted this matter and felt that second young master was a good person, she suddenly realized that it was just an excuse. She was just an excuse and a tool. She should be sad when she realized that the person who said that he liked her was just using her as a shield. In fact, he liked someone else. Later, she found out that this person wanted to make room for her. He used all means, and even destroyed her just to protect someone else. Not to mention a woman. Even if it was a man, with other relationships, he wouldn't be able to accept such an outcome. Cheng Zixiao didn't pursue Tao Hutsai's silence. At this time, he was talking to himself. He just wanted to get to the place as soon as possible and see if she was still there. Maybe there would be a miracle? When they arrived at their destination, Cheng Zixiao seemed to have gone crazy. He jumped into the sea and searched the surrounding shore. He didn't miss a single stone. In the end, he even went to some farmers' houses to ask if there was a woman who was completely wet. Of course, the answer they received was no. After 3 days and 3 nights, Tao Hutsai couldn't help but call out to Cheng Zixiao, "Second young master, they're probably gone." They were swept away by the sea. Only then did Cheng Zixiao stop moving mechanically. His shoes were worn out, and he was extremely tired. His eyes were even redder than before. For the past few days, he hadn't slept a wink and hadn't eaten much. He was basically at his limit. Hearing Tao Hutsai's reminder, his heart suddenly swelled and his eyes became moist. He looked at the boundless sea. In this vast sea, looking for someone was like fishing for a needle. He regretted it. For the first time in his life, he regretted every step of the plan. He seemed to have lost all the strength in his body. He had no choice but to squat down and stare blankly at the sea. The surface of the sea was so calm and rippled, but it was actually a man-eating beast. He was powerless and did not even have the chance to find her body. Cheng Zixiao recalled all the things that had happened in the past. Cheng Zixiao's blood rushed to his heart, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. He clutched his chest that was an unbearable pain, experiencing the most painful feeling he had ever felt since he was born. Chapter 5492. At this moment, Cheng Zixiao finally understood that sadness and reluctance were nothing compared to heartache. When Xiao Shueshi married Cheng Zifeng, he was only sad, angry, and regretful, but he didn't feel this heartache. "Second young master, are you okay?" Tao Hutsai was worried when he saw Cheng Zixiao vomit blood. He quickly went over to help him. "Second young master, let's go back." "Hutsai, I lost her." The tears in Cheng Zixiao's eyes finally fell, but he still tried his best to open his eyes and look at the sea. "It was the giant beast in front of us that swallowed her. I was the one who personally sent her into the giant beast's mouth." "Second young master, now that things have come to this, Hutsai, I realized it too late. I was too stupid." Cheng Zixiao grabbed Tao Hutsai's arm and said sadly, "Why didn't I realize it earlier? How could I send her away? Her appearance was clearly a blessing from the heavens. I destroyed her myself." "Second young master, it's Hutsai's fault. If I had warned you in time, this tragedy wouldn't have happened." Tao Hutsai took the blame. "Second young master, let's go back now. There are still many things to do. We can't immerse ourselves here. You know?" Cheng Zixiao understood the meaning behind Tao Hutsai's words. Tao Hutsai nodded. "I know you treat Miss Tang differently, but I didn't expect her to be so important to you. Second young master, you don't have to torture yourself like this. Go back and punish me, even if you want my life. If it wasn't for me, Miss Tang wouldn't have jumped into the sea." Cheng Zixiao suddenly laughed, then shook his head. "I can't even realize how important she is." "How would you know?" Cheng Zixiao squatted down again, as if he had no intention of going back. Meanwhile, in Fish City, people were also speculating because of the Cheng family's actions. Cheng Zixiao hadn't returned for 3 days, and the 2 elders of the Cheng family couldn't help asking what was going on. Everyone who knew had left, so they couldn't ask anything and could only arrange for someone to look for him. Because there was no one guarding, the 2 elders let Cheng Zifeng out. "You're willing to let me go?" Cheng Zifeng was surprised. He looked around. "Is Zixiao not here?" He had no intention of leaving. He sat down on his seat with a swagger. Old Master Cheng didn't like Cheng Zifeng, but he didn't expect him to do anything. It was only because he had been quiet recently that he let him out. Besides, he couldn't keep him locked up forever. He finally understood that the more Cheng Zifeng locked him up, the more he would hate him. It would be better to just let him out. Things had already come to this point, so if he liked that girl named Xieyuan, then so be it. According to his experience, this kind of love would eventually be defeated by life. When Cheng Zifeng suffered, he would understand that the so-called free feelings were useless. You can go wherever you want. Old Master Cheng said, as long as you don't smoke, you won't be lacking in food and clothing. In the future, you can be the young master of the Cheng family and be with whoever you like, but don't bring it in. Cheng Zifeng was a little surprised. He didn't understand how the two of them had figured it out. At this moment, the people that the two of them had sent out finally returned with news. Master, madam, we've found second young master's whereabouts. Old Master Cheng said, where is he? He hasn't come back for days. Doesn't he care about the Cheng family? Is this how he manages the Cheng family when it's in his hands? Second young master's condition isn't very good. He's already on his way back. Old Master Cheng was a little worried now. He was mainly worried that if something happened to Cheng Zixiao, no one would be able to manage the Cheng family. What happened to him? Chapter 5493. Doctor, how is he? Old Master Cheng asked worriedly. Cheng Zixiao's appearance when he was carried back really gave him a fright. Now that Cheng Zifeng was unable to support the Cheng family, even though Cheng Zixiao's previous behavior was a little bad, it was undeniable that he was indeed more suitable to inherit the family. It was also Cheng Zifeng's behavior that disappointed him too much. He knew that the family definitely had no future in the hands of the other party, so he placed his hopes on Cheng Zixiao. The doctor comforted him. Second young master is fine. As long as he eats well and rests more, he will be fine after a while. This is caused by lack of sleep, lack of food in time, and extreme sadness. The two elders of the Cheng family looked at each other. Extreme sadness? What was it that made Cheng Zixiao so sad that he couldn't eat or sleep peacefully? Why did he have to go outside to suffer from the cold and hunger? The person who came back to report the news didn't know what happened to Cheng Zixiao. The only ones who knew the details were the group of people that Cheng Zixiao brought out. Go and call Tao He over. After a while, Tao He came. He knew that there was no way to hide the matter, but he definitely couldn't tell the truth. On the way, he had already planned what to say. Miss Tang met bandits on the way and jumped into the sea. When second young master heard about this, he immediately went to look for her, but in the end, he couldn't find her. When old Master Cheng heard this, he suddenly understood. In his impression, Cheng Zixiao was still infatuated with Tanghua and even caused trouble at the wedding ceremony. Madame Cheng was a little confused. Could it be that Cheng Zixiao cooperated with Zifeng and helped Zifeng and Shueshi be together to satisfy his selfish desires? In fact, he had already taken a fancy to Tanghua, but he didn't expect that a forced melon wouldn't be sweet at all. Tanghua's heart still couldn't tolerate him. In Madame Cheng's opinion, Cheng Zixiao was such a scheming person. Otherwise, such a big Cheng family wouldn't be controlled by him. No wonder she was wondering how Cheng Zixiao could come up with such a plan. In the past, she thought that he was taking advantage of Zifeng, but it turned out that it was for his own convenience. But so what if she understood? If Zifeng couldn't be helped, she couldn't do anything unless Zifeng could have a child. Unfortunately, even such an obedient and well-behaved daughter-in-law like Shueshi was gone because of Dui Feng. Could she still accept the child of Zifeng and that vixen outside? Has anyone from the family Tang arranged for someone to look for her? Old Master Cheng asked. Tao Hatsai smiled bitterly. Miss Tang left the family the day she came home. Since then, no one in the family tried to find out her whereabouts. There were a lot of things going on in the family these days. Chapter 5494. Before that person could say anything, Cheng Zifeng walked in. Dad, you're looking for me? I heard that Miss Tang jumped into the sea and we haven't found her yet. What happened? She met bandits, Tao Hatsai added. Miss Tang couldn't stand the humiliation and jumped into the sea. He thought that this was the best explanation. It had to be said that second young master really killed someone. She was innocent. Cheng Zifeng couldn't believe it. How is that possible? When she was scolded by the entire U city, she didn't do anything stupid. Why did she jump into the sea after being caught by bandits? Isn't this a bit out of her style? After all, she was willing to betray her morals to be with him. This was what Cheng Zifeng couldn't figure out. If she was caught by bandits and waited for someone to save her, she still had a chance to live. He thought that she wasn't someone who cared about her reputation. Get out. Don't you think it's embarrassing enough to stay here? Old Master Cheng couldn't stand Cheng Zifeng's indifferent attitude and kicked him out with his walking stick. Not long after, the entire Yu City knew that Tanghua had been stopped by bandits and jumped into the sea. No one knew exactly what had happened, but many people still couldn't believe that she didn't want to be a bandit and jumped into the sea. After all, in their opinion, she could still live after what happened before and wasn't afraid of people pointing fingers at her. Why did she suddenly jump into the sea when she met bandits? If it weren't for what she did before, they would think that she was a chaste woman. How could Xiao Shueshi not know about such a big thing? She ran into the Cheng family house, panting, and rushed to Cheng Zixiao's place. When she reached the gate, she hesitated and called out as she walked. As expected, she attracted Tao Hutsai. When she saw Tao Hutsai, she shouted, "Take me to see Cheng Zixiao." I told him she was innocent, but he didn't believe me. Now that she's gone, he's sad again. Tao Hutsai couldn't say anything. Wasn't that right? Second young master was asking for it. Cheng Zixiao had already woken up. When he heard Xiao Shueshi shouting loudly as she entered the room, he sat on the chair with a coat draped over his shoulders. He did not even turn his head. "Cheng Zixiao," Xiao Shueshi shouted again. "Are you satisfied now?" Cheng Zixiao slowly turned his head and looked at Xiao Shueshi, who was standing in front of him. He didn't know why, but he no longer felt the rush of excitement he had when he first met her. He didn't even know when his love for Xiao Shueshi had started to fade. Why didn't they discover it? It was because he believed in himself too much and was too stubborn about certain things. It should be said that he always wanted to take back the things that Cheng Zifeng had taken away. His love for her was actually just the first time he met her. Later on, it was more because he felt that the person he liked the most had been snatched away by Cheng Zifeng, so he couldn't accept that he didn't get her. He obviously treated her as the best, but Cheng Zifeng didn't cherish her. Naturally, he wanted to change everything. He only saw what was in front of him and did not see that there was a better person beside him. Ignoring this person was the best gift that God had given him. You really can't find her? When Xiao Shueshi saw the thin and pale Cheng Zixiao, she understood that he was probably feeling terrible. Her tone lowered. "Why don't we get someone to look for her again? What if she's still alive? She's so smart. I don't believe that she really jumped into the sea." Chapter 5495. It's true. Based on my understanding of her, if she wanted to escape, she would never take the water route. Instead, she would first pretend to be a snake with the bandits, then slowly find an opportunity to escape, or use some excuse to delay them and wait for someone to rescue her. She would never commit suicide for the sake of her so-called reputation. Cheng Zixiao didn't say anything, because from Tao Hutsai's explanation, he could tell that Tanghua really didn't jump into the sea for her so-called reputation. Her heart was cold, and she didn't want to live at all. She couldn't return to the Cheng family, was abandoned by her family, and was schemed against by him. She didn't want to stay in this world anymore. Cheng Zixiao's eyes reddened again. He closed his eyes, and his body trembled slightly. Tao Hutsai couldn't stand it anymore and explained to Xiao Shueshi, "Miss Xiao, we've been searching for 3 days and 3 nights, and we've searched everywhere we could find. If there's nothing nearby, then it can only mean that Miss Tang has stayed there forever." Xiao Shueshi covered her mouth, and tears fell uncontrollably. Why did that happen? I still don't understand. Why didn't she want to live? She's so smart. If she wanted to live, she would definitely live. Tao Hutsai's mouth was bitter. He couldn't explain. That matter, he would just treat it as a secret. "I'm leaving." Xiao Shueshi saw that she couldn't get anything out of him, so she could only turn and leave. She felt that Tao Hutsai was hiding something. What was it that he didn't want to reveal? Did this have anything to do with Tanghua's death? She hadn't even helped Tanghua find out who killed her, but the other party was gone. No, she couldn't feel at ease like this. At least she had to find a way to prove Tang was innocent. Now that the people of Fish City were talking about it, it really made her uncomfortable. Seeing that Xiao Shueshi was about to walk out of the door of the small courtyard, she suddenly stopped. Her eyes moved, and the tip of her foot turned, and she walked back in the direction she came from. This time, she walked silently, not making a single sound. Since Tao Hutsai couldn't say anything, it wouldn't be easy for her to find out from other aspects. She might as well take this opportunity to secretly eavesdrop. Maybe she could find something? No one would have thought that she, Xiao Shueshi, would eavesdrop, right? She was familiar with every corner of the Chung family. After all, she used to be the gardener for the Chung family. It was easy for her to find an excellent spot to eavesdrop. Not long after, Xiao Shueshi felt her way under the window. Coincidentally, there was a pile of grass blocking the outside, and the window was slightly open. She squatted down below and could clearly hear the movements in the house. Second young master, the Chung family still needs you to take charge of the situation. Don't blame yourself too much. You can't find Miss Tang, but you still have Miss Chiao. Have you forgotten that you did all this to bring Miss Chiao back to your side to protect her? Tao Hutsai comforted. He didn't know that Chung Zixiao no longer liked Xiao Shueshi. He only thought that Chung Zixiao was sad because of Tanghua's departure. Chung Zixiao liked both Tanghua and Xiao Shueshi. Hikai, I'm not in the mood to do anything else. Second young master, have you given up on Miss Chiao? Tao He was shocked. Just because of Miss Tang's death? No. Then why? Tao Hikai asked in his heart. He had been by second young master's side for many years, and all these years, he knew how much second young master liked Miss Chiao. If he gave up so easily because of Miss Tang, he would find it hard to accept. I suddenly realized that I didn't like Xiao Shueshi for a long time. After Chung Zixiao said this, he suddenly sobbed. Why didn't I realize earlier? Chapter 5496. If I had found out earlier, I wouldn't have let her leave me, and I wouldn't have planned to hurt her. Chung Zixiao sobbed and covered his face with his hands. Xiao Shueshi is right. She was so smart. Even if she fell into the hands of bandits, as long as there was still hope in her heart, she would never give up the chance to live and jump into the sea. She was disappointed in me, so she didn't want to stay in this world anymore. I was the one who pushed away the person who treated me the best in this world. Now, I've lost the right to have her forever. Xiao Shueshi, who was squatting outside the window, didn't expect to hear such a big secret on a whim. She wasn't a fool. From the words just now, she could tell that Chung Zixiao had something to do with Tanghua's death. What she couldn't accept was that Chung Zixiao had framed Tanghua for her. Because Chung Zixiao used to like her. She couldn't accept that she had a part to play in Tanghua's death. She couldn't accept it. What she couldn't accept was that Tanghua knew that Chung Zixiao was behind the plan. Last time she asked, he said he didn't know. Xiao Shueshi's tears kept falling. Tanghua didn't say anything because she was afraid that the truth would hurt her. She was the one who hurt her. Why didn't she want to tell the truth? She wasn't afraid of being hurt at all. Chung Zifeng's hurt had made her very strong. If she could go back in time, she would definitely stay by Tanghua's side, so that Tanghua wouldn't have a chance to be sent away by Chung Zixiao's men. Even though Chung Zixiao was sobbing in the room, she could feel his feelings for Tanghua. That kind of regret, reluctance, and heart-wrenching pain. She still couldn't vent her anger. She didn't think that Chung Zixiao was an infatuated person. He was an ingrate. He was indeed Chung Zifeng's brother. They did things in the same way. None of them had a conscience. Xiao Shueshi had heard most of the truth. She suppressed her sadness and slowly went out. Second young master, eat something. No matter what, you have to live. Tao He persuaded him. We haven't found Miss Tang's body yet. Maybe there are miracles in this world. What if she appears again one day? As long as there was no corpse, it meant that there was still hope for her to come back. Second young master can only make up for it in the future if he has a healthy body. Chung Zixiao's eyes lit up as he said slowly, Really? Of course, second young master can earn more money and hire more people. Let them go to the seaside every day and look around. Maybe they can find it. No matter what, if he's alive, I want to see him, and if he's dead, I want to see his corpse, right? You're right. Chung Zixiao seemed to have found a reason to live. Go get some food. Tao Hatsai heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly called for someone to bring food over. Chung Zixiao had been starving for a few days and hadn't eaten properly, so he could only eat some porridge. He looked at the porridge in the bowl and fell into deep thought again. Seeing his red eyes, Tao Hatsai urged him, Xiao, eat it. The temperature is just right. Not hot, not cold. You ordered it? No, the chef prepared it a long time ago. Chung Zixiao took a bite. It was a familiar taste. That chef should be the one who tried making the porridge before. Before him, he wouldn't have thought of these things. He made the porridge, then cooled it down and warmed it. When it's time to eat, it's just right. This is what he ordered. Chapter 5497. She often asked the chef to make these dishes. There was a time when I ate these for breakfast every day. Ever since I ate these, my stomach doesn't hurt anymore. Tao He was speechless. The Chung family really had too many memories of Miss Tang. These memories were sweet and deadly to the second young master. At the same time, Tanghua had already settled down at the top of Oxhead Mountain. Just as Yin Qing said, there was a beautiful house with everything inside. There was a pond, fish, and flowers in the house. It was a good place to live. Every day, Yin Qing's underlings would go up and down to buy many things from the city. They were afraid that she would be bored, so they bought books and musical instruments. Anyway, Yin Qing asked his men to carry all the things that the rich young ladies played with. At this time, Tanghua was leaning against the pavilion, reading and playing with the fish. Yin Qing sat beside her and stared at her. From time to time, he would throw some fish feed into the pond. Don't throw the feed. Don't you see that the fish in the pond are bloated? If you continue, they will die. Tanghua saw that Yin Qing was about to throw the feed into the pond again, so she quickly stopped him. Yin Qing stopped and smiled at her. Are you used to living here? Is there anything you lack? I'm used to it. It's like living at home. Yin Qing was even happier when he heard this. What about the book? Do you like reading it? It's so crooked. I can't understand it. Yin Qing didn't know that the original owner had never learned a foreign language. Of course, Tanghua could understand the book. In the future, when some special period came, these books might not be able to be preserved. Almost every similar small world would have such a special period of time, but there were many differences in the progress. For example, when she first came to this small world, she found that the film industry developed very early and was very developed. In terms of technology, it was much more advanced than the small world at the same time. Do you want to learn? Tanghua shook the book in her hand. If you want to learn, I can teach you. Many of your men can't recognize many words. You can ask them if they want to learn. Yin Qing was surprised. You are willing to teach us? Of course. Of course he's willing. Because of various things, we've cut off our chance to go to school. Yin Qing said that he was actually a little better. His parents were literate, and he had gone to school before, so it was not a problem for him to recognize words. However, many of his underlings were not as well. Some of them could not even write their own names. In the past, none of them had realized this problem. I'll call them over. Not long after, the lackeys were sitting in rows in the courtyard. Yin Qing was seated in the first row. This is a rare opportunity. All of you must study hard and not fall behind. Tomorrow, I'll go down the mountain to buy a blackboard and chalk, as well as paper and pen. In this way, Tanghua began to teach on the mountain. One day after class, she said to Yin Qing, "There's a group of bandits on the mountain next door. Let's recruit them to strengthen our team. Also, I don't think you can always be bandits. You have to find something serious to do." "We have property at the foot of the mountain," Yin Qing said. "I'll get someone to show you the account book." "How do you know about the bandits on the mountain next door?" Yin Qing and the bandits on the mountain next door did not interfere in each other's business. Tanghua was already flipping through the account book. Yin Qing's property was scattered and not concentrated enough. It was not a problem for him to make money, but it was impossible for him to continue expanding. He had to carry out a unified management and planning. There's no rush to recruit them. Get someone to watch over them. When they're in danger, just go and pick them up. According to the history of this world, even if the bandits on the mountain next door did not die because of the original owner, they would be killed by the people who later occupied Fish City. We'll listen to you. From today onwards, I'll teach you Chinese and mathematics. When you've learned enough, I'll teach you foreign languages. Recently, I'll organize all your properties. When there's a chance, you can replace the family Tang and the Qing family. Yin Qing said excitedly, that's not a problem. He knew that she was someone who would do great things. Following her was definitely the right thing to do. Lackeys, boss, why do you sound so awkward? Anyway, at this point, it would not be good if she did not do anything. After all, she still had to live in this world for decades. She also wanted to usher in an era of peace as soon as possible. Yin Qing was very cooperative. Tangwa's life was better than Cheng Zixiao's. Do you want to know what happened at the foot of the mountain? One day, Yin Qing asked tentatively, recently, my people found that Xiao Shueshi went to the Qing family very often to look for Cheng Zixiao. Guess what she did? Tangwa was also a little curious. What did she do? Chapter 5498. I didn't want to tell you this at first. I thought you weren't worth it. You can't not trust her. I didn't expect so many things to happen after that. I thought about it and decided to tell you. Cheng Zixiao looked at the order in his hand. His rosy face turned pale again. When did this happen? A few days before the accident, Xiao Shueshi probed. Xiao Shueshi said tentatively, I remember that you guys went to Yun's tailor shop to order clothes and made a lot of them. I don't know why she secretly ordered so many after that. Could it be that she sensed something and knew that she couldn't stay by your side? Cheng Zixiao was still in a daze. He didn't know what to do when he saw the order. After being reminded by Xiao Shueshi, it was as if something had been opened in her mind. She immediately understood why Tangwa ordered so many clothes for the 4 seasons. She knew his plan. She had time to order clothes, but she didn't have time to escape. Was she sad when she found out the truth? He also didn't notice anything strange about her when he accompanied her to shop. Now that he thought about it, he felt that she was too quiet. He thought that his plan was perfect, but he didn't know that she was the one who pretended not to know, even though his plan was targeted at her. Xiao Shueshi looked at Cheng Zixiao's pale face and the way he gripped the order tightly. She felt a little happy. This order was completely non-existent. She thought that even if Tangwa was alive now, she wouldn't like Cheng Zixiao anymore, right? She jumped into the sea so decisively. Maybe she wanted to say goodbye to these things. She was so smart. How could she be immersed in her feelings for Cheng Zixiao? She guessed that Tangwa didn't just jump into the sea because she was disappointed in Cheng Zixiao. It should be because many things happen one after another. She felt a little tired, and this world wasn't beautiful, so it wasn't worth her nostalgia. But she had to create the illusion that Tangwa jumped into the sea because of Cheng Zixiao's betrayal. She could tell that Cheng Zixiao was attracted to Tangwa. Through her recent observation, she realized that Cheng Zixiao was a despicable person. She didn't cherish it when she was alive, and only felt sad when she was dead. She really deserved it. Tangwa's life and death were unknown, and Cheng Zixiao would not be able to live through the following days easily. I want to take a look at Yun's tailor shop. Cheng Zixiao took a deep breath and tried to control the pain in his heart. He stood up from the chair and ran outside. Xiao Shueshi hurriedly followed behind. Tao He, who had been waiting outside, quickly walked to her side and said in a low voice, Miss Xiao, I'll have to trouble you to take care of second young master these days. Second young master's condition isn't very good. I hope you can encourage him and not let him be immersed in the sadness of the past. Some of them never came back, but some of them are still alive. Okay, I'll keep an eye on him. Don't worry. Don't worry, she won't let Cheng Zixiao live well. She will always remind Cheng Zixiao how good the other person is to him. Xiao Shueshi lowered her eyes. She already had a plan in mind. She had already planned to do something, and Tangwa's sudden accident gave her an idea. I'm sorry, the things on this order can't be collected in one go. Miss Tang and we agreed that we would deliver to the Cheng family every quarter. Yun Xiaolian replied coldly, completely ignoring Cheng Zixiao's identity. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.